Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. I have a Transformers Robots in Disguise review for you. This is another of the Minicon deployers, Overload and Backtrack. I believe he is a Decepticon based on the symbol down here. I mean, when you kind of look at him, he kind of strikes me as an Autobot just by his color scheme and everything. But they do have some hard to find Decepticon logos, so not sure. It shows it here in the picture that there's one on his chest, but the toy doesn't actually have one on his chest, so that's kind of a bummer. Not really much going on in the packaging. Cool picture there. Back just kind of shows how it works. I'm sure it's very similar to the other two deployers that we've taken a look at. So go ahead, pop these guys out of the packaging, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so we have Overload and Backtrack out of the packaging, and I've already gone ahead and attached all of his little Minicon armor. I'll try to zoom in here so you can take a quick look at him. Not a bad little face. It's kind of hard to see in there a little bit. The eyes are red, mostly silver face. I don't mind the Minicon. This is the first of a new shape, at least one of the first ones that I've gotten, where before we kind of had the little wedges for fracture, and then we had the discs for drift, and now we have these kind of spherical ones, which I kind of like the spherical ones, but this guy's just okay, because he keeps wanting to kind of fold in on himself, and it's kind of difficult to keep him pushed out. I also kind of wish that after you push these out, you could swing these. See how there's kind of a hinge in here? Right there. I kind of wish these could come down another notch to make the legs like a little bit farther down. But these orange armor pieces do give him a little bit more stability as far as, you know, they allow him to kind of stand a little bit better, which is nice. And the hands have a little joint right here, so they can come a little bit forward. And I have to say, I really do like this kind of backpack on the back, and this kind of head crest, and the two shoulder cannons. I really do like that on him. I think that looks good. To transform him into a sphere, you're just going to kind of collapse it all in on itself, and then you can kind of push the shoulders down to shore up the sphere. As you can see, you can leave all of this on in sphere mode. Now, the little legs don't work as well because now that they're closer in, you can see they don't quite touch the ground over the sphere piece. So he kind of rolls around. I'm going to go ahead and pop this stuff off now because it's easier to show him in the deployer without... You can put him in the deployer, and I'll show you that real quick before I pop out any more armor. The deployer is actually on the back of Overload. You can just pop him in. And I kind of like that. I kind of think it's cool that Backtrack can become a backpack. I think that's kind of hilarious. And I think that looks good, especially like this with the kind of back. The jetpack that's on the back of Backtrack could kind of serve as a jetpack for Overload. And I think that looks pretty good. But I'm going to go ahead and take off the rest of this armor. The armor is pretty snug in here, and it's just tabs. You can see there's just a tab right there and little tab holes all over the sphere. The directions are very clear as to which go in where. Really snug, though. There we go. And it is nice that they're kind of different shapes. You can see there it's kind of an L shape where these are just straight tabs. So it's kind of hard to mix them up and put them in the wrong ones. But man, some of these are really snug. And then the backpack, you can see is two tabs. And that's the same for the head crest as well. So if I can just get this last one off. There we go. I don't want to break anything. So I'm going to put all those pieces aside. These two pieces that were kind of the shoulder cannons, they had kind of a, and I'll see if I can get close. It's going to be hard to see, but you can see it's kind of a long L shape. Again, so it plugs into the right spot. But they also have a little smaller tab hole down here on the barrel. And there's two tabs on the side of Overload's gun. So you can go ahead and peg them on there if you like to give him a little bit of extra firepower. And I kind of appreciate that. All of the deployers so far have had that where two of the armor pieces from the Minicon can go onto the main robot. And I think that's a nice little bit of extra playability there. Now, as far as overload goes, I do like that he can store the Minicon on the back like that. I really do kind of like that. Posability-wise, he's literally got these shoulder joints, and that's it. The arms are a solid piece. I mean, the legs can kind of go out to the side a little bit for the transformation, but it's not going to help you at all unless you want him to be really squat. Like if he's falling from a great height and you want him to absorb some impact. But that's pretty much all you can show. I like that he has these heels. They do kind of keep him from falling. Nice and stable there. And I think the shoulder articulation, I mean, that's pretty much the only articulation you get, but at least that's good. I do like the look of him, I have to say. I like his color scheme. I'm going to try to get in close and take a look at this head sculpt. If we can get closer. Maybe. Not the best. But you can see there, it's very similar to Backtrack's face sculpt, mostly silver with a little bit of red eyes, little beady red eyes. But it's not bad. Let's get back out here. Refocus this. There we go. So overall, like, I obviously wish he had more articulation because, I mean, he's only got 2 points. But most deployers don't, and that's because of the gimmick. Also, I kind of get a skull motif from his torso. This kind of looks like 2 red eyes, and then if this is a mouth, the silver part, and jaws are for top and bottom. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that aesthetic of him having kind of a bigger skull for his chest. Now, I don't know if this guy's going to get a warrior class treatment eventually. I really don't know. I guess it depends how long this line goes. And I think after season 2 of the show, Rid is done. I'm not 100% of that, but it's kind of what I've been hearing. So we'll have to wait and see. But we'll go ahead and move on to this guy's transformation. Transformation is pretty simplistic, but it has a lot of steps, which is weird. I've gone ahead and removed Backtrack just for simplicity's sake. So you're going to start by just taking the cannon here and just kind of rotating it out to the front. And you can see here that there's a little trigger button, and that's going to pop into a channel that we'll expose later on so that he can fire the deployer when he's in vehicle mode. Basically, then you're going to kind of rotate these arms. There's a black joint under here, you can see. So they're going to rotate out like that. He's got kind of a little collar here, like a little turtleneck. You're going to just pop that up, and that's going to hide the face. You're going to unpeg the full torso from up here. You can kind of see these 2 pegs right there that were pegged in. So you're going to unpeg that, and then you're going to kind of drop this down a little bit, as you can see. You're going to have to move the legs out, and you can kind of move the arms to get them out of the way. So you want to do that wide split I showed earlier so that you can bring the deployer gimmick around the front and in between his legs. When you do that, you can kind of put these in as close as you think they can get. So it looks like he's kind of sitting on the deployer gimmick. At this point, you can bring this down, and the silver piece will kind of click on to the deployer gimmick, just like that. Then you're going to make sure that this piece I talked about earlier fits into this channel. So you want to make sure that happens. And then also there's some clips here and here. Basically, you can see the open channel right there. And that's going to click onto the arms just to shore that up a little bit. Kind of bring that in together to form the tank. You're going to do that on both sides. So shore that up. You can see the tank is pretty much forming. You're going to come to these heels, which are going to kind of like de-accordion out, if that's a word, which it probably isn't. But you can see that's going to form a full tank tread, and then you're just going to rotate that back. Now there's a little tab hole right there, and then there's a tab in here. So you're just going to rock that in, and then it's just going to tab in very simply. Sorry, it helps if you actually rotate the whole bit, because then it's going to work a little bit better. All right, there we go. So then you're going to do the same thing with this side. Pull this out, and then rotate the whole thing. It has a tendency to not want to rotate that first part, but you can get it. So then there you go, you have some treads. So then that is your little tank mode. We'll take a closer look. So it's not a bad looking tank. It's very simplistic. It doesn't roll very well. It might be because of the cloth of my review station, but I really think it's just because you just have these 2 tiny little wheels here on both sides. and that doesn't really lend well. But the deployer gimmick works pretty well. You can go ahead and pop the sphere in here. And then there's a little, you can see the trigger button is up top there. So if you go ahead and press that. There we go. You have to make sure that's pushed down all the way in the channel. Try it again. So, I mean, because it's a sphere, it really does, pop it across, and it does roll very well because it's spherical. So I appreciate that. As far as the tank goes, I mean, it's very basic. There's not a ton going on here. It kind of reminds me almost like something you'd see in like Tron or maybe a Halo game, where it's just kind of a very simplistic, like one-man tank just kind of going around, blowing some stuff up. I mean, I'm glad they at least included this kind of turtleneck, because otherwise you can basically just see the robot head just hanging out there on the back. So, I mean, like I said, I don't know if this guy's going to get the Warrior class treatment later on, and I don't know how different his vehicle mode will be, but it does just kind of look like he, popped his shoulders out and then laid down. So, it's not a terrible vehicle mode. I also kind of wish the gun barrel for the tank was longer. If that just extended out a little bit, maybe to here, something like that, I think it would look better. So, overall, not a terrible tank mode, but not the best. So as far as a deployer, I think Overload and Backtrack are okay. They certainly don't hold up to Warrior class figures, but I don't believe they're meant to, because they're mostly gimmick figures. And in that regard, I think they're okay. I really do like the spherical Minicons, especially for a deployer, because once they fire, they have the added bonus of being round, so they can roll a lot farther and really kind of jump out. And I really do like the fact, I mean, looking at it like this, his back is really hollow, which isn't so great. But if you just go ahead and pop, his Minicon in here, then I think it looks great. Especially if you go ahead and pop, I have to make sure I'm doing this the right way. If you go ahead and pop these jetpack pieces back on, and the head crest, and then pop it in like that, I think that looks really good. And it adds some orange to the figure, which helps his overall aesthetic and his color scheme. So I think if you just always keep a Minicon in there, I think that actually looks pretty cool. As far as Overload, I do like his kind of aesthetic. I like the design of the character, and I definitely like the color scheme. Obviously, I would love some more articulation, but because it's a gimmick figure, it has to sacrifice that for the gimmick, so I get it. I mean, I do think they could have given maybe a joint in the knees or something. I mean, I really do think they probably could have popped something in the elbows here, too. They just kind of don't, because it's a cheaper figure, because it's coming with a Minicon. And I don't know. To me, I feel like they could, if they would have just, like, one or two more points of articulation, and this figure could actually be pretty cool. Because I really do like the design of him. I like the color scheme. I love the Minicon that he comes with. Yes, I would have liked the legs to maybe rotate down a little bit farther, so he could have a little bit more of a full robot mode, kind of like how he's shown on the box. But overall, it's not terrible. Definitely they don't hold up to Warrior class figures, but as far as deployers go, I definitely think he's better than Fracture. Not sure if he's better than Drift, but I would say he's kind of on par with Drift. I still think Fracture is the worst one because of the weird... The one thing I will say that these deployers do not have over the first wave, they don't have a large deployer gimmick hanging off the side. Whereas Fracture and Drift both had that kind of weird, like, trigger on the back that made the whole piece kind of swing down and rotate to fire. I'm glad they got rid of that. Yes, you don't really have a way to fire this in robot mode, but I don't really care about that. Like, I would much rather him store it on his back and have it just look cool than have that weird, giant, gaudy piece hanging off the side that you have to, like, swing down to try to deploy it, because that just didn't work. So I'm glad they at least learned from that. And in this respect, I think he's one of the better deployers, but obviously Warrior class figures are still your best bet. So if this guy does get a Warrior class treatment, you might want to go for that instead of this, but I'm not sure at this point if that's going to happen, so we'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinions. Please like and share this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Minicon Deployer Overload with Backtrack from Transformers Robots in Disguise, and thanks for watching.